Hello, personal productivity enthusiasts and community. Welcome to Anything But Idle, the Productivity News Podcast. I'm Ray Sidney-Smith.
And I'm Augusto Pinaud.
And we're on camera now, and welcome to Anything But Idle. This is episode 64, and we're recording this on June 8th, 2021, in honor of the Apple Worldwide Developer Conference that is ongoing for 2021. The keynote was yesterday, and so we are doing our commentary episode, a special episode today to do that. And of course, to do that, we are bringing back on the show Michael Slawinski. He is a productivity guy. He's the founder and CEO of Noseby, where they have two productivity apps. Noseby Teams, an uber-functional to-do app for small business and medium teams, and Noseby, a project management and collaboration tool for busy professionals. Both Noseby Teams and Noseby are web-based tools with apps for all the major platforms. If you can think of the OS, there's an app for it. Michael is also a speaker, author of best-selling books, a podcaster, and a blogger. He's happily married to his wife, Evelina, and they have 3 daughters. Welcome to Anything But Idle, Michael.
Hi. Thanks for having me again.
Yes, welcome back as always to talk about Apple, all things Apple. I'm gonna sit back and let you two take over the show in essence. So talk to me. What did you feel like was good about the show this time around, about the keynote? What was the biggest thing that kind of stood out for you in Apple's WWDC keynote?
I think the biggest thing as a theme is that they kind of caught up with the pandemic and with us working from home and being from home, like all the improvements to FaceTime, all these, sharing and all that stuff, like all these improvements, they were kind of, a kind of a late response to what happened the previous year. I mean, it's better late than never, because I hope this will mean that people who will be working from home and will stay working from home or in hybrid mode will have just better tools. So for me, this was like the main theme, and this was like the main show. I've been using FaceTime a lot, and FaceTime on Android through the web. I mean, just think about it. So yeah. I think this was like the main theme for me. Second one would be just the convergence of all the OSs. So it's like, they are just almost together now. Like they're different, but the same, different, but together, holding hand, and of course the demo in the end of moving cursors between iPad, Mac, and iPad again and stuff was magical.
All right, so let's take our way through the event. First up was, of course, FaceTime. They've made a fundamental rethinking of how FaceTime has really worked on and in the Apple ecosystem by virtue of letting people beyond the Apple ecosystem actually use FaceTime. They were listening to me. They finally let us use. Maybe next will be messages off the Apple ecosystem. I don't know, but we'll see.
I'm sure you still need to have an Apple device to start that FaceTime call. You are not going to do it from your Android, but
but I'll still be glad to do so. Like I'll be happy to start it on my iPad and then be able to take it to my desktop and now actually use the equipment I want to.
No, but just think about it. Like this particular conversation right now, we have it through the web, through StreamYard. It is a web app, and it works. So so having people from outside of Apple's walled garden join through the web, it's possible.
Yeah, it's easy, it's secure, it's capable. I think it's more, for me, it's more, it has a stronger sense of how I want to be seen, which is using the equipment I want. And, it's like the iPad just is a weird angle, it's just like all of those things that wherever I'm going to set the iPad down, it's not going to make me look as good as I would want to on camera. And now I can choose the equipment I want to do that on. And so I like that capability of being able to go to any device. I still have Apple devices. It's not like I don't, but I just want to use the platform I want to use to be able to have those kinds of meetings. So
in the lieu of time, I'm going to say my favorite thing, because otherwise we're going to be here 7 hours. So there are 2 things in there. One is that is the ability to now schedule them. That's awesome. That I can send an invite in the same way you do Zoom, in the same way you do Google Meeting. I live for an Apple ecosystem. I agree with what Michael said. I love the fact that they're trying to make them one. So if you see the cockpit that I love the idea. I may even consider getting replace my MacBook Air, so I can do certain more things. But for the FaceTime, that part was really, really exciting. And actually, this morning on a meeting, I joke, I didn't know we were going to meet on Telegram or Zoom, and I joke, soon, FaceTime, okay, because it's true, it's coming. So, but the other thing that was cool was the microphones and how you could filter the external sounds and how that's going to come. Because as you, Michael, said, and I hope and agree with you, as we continue working here at home, there is noises, okay? We are recording today at 12. It's live, okay? My kids will come out of a school any second. That means I need to start muting myself and doing this fun thing that we all do during the pandemic of please unmute yourself so you can continue talking. So, but having some of those filters in place, it will be really, really awesome. And making that on top with that with share, so you can do the watching and the sharing and all that. You know, I do tech support for my in-laws, for my parents, for my sisters. Just the idea that I will not need to go and tell them, okay, connect to Zoom, now share your screen. Yes, the same way you did it the last time. Just click that button, but I will be able to do all that on the iOS. Thank you.
So there you go, Ray. This is FaceTime, the tech support, the Mama Tech Support Edition. Yeah, I totally understand, Augusto. I'm on the same boat.
It happened with clients, but clients are paying, so I don't mind when they need to tell them where to click 3 times.
Yeah, but my mom is a beta tester. She always like clicks on something or taps on something, and then she just So
my dad is on record saying that his Windows machine do not have a Windows button. That's all I'm going to say about that.
Maybe he broke it off. Chip part of the screen. Okay, so moving on from FaceTime updates to notifications, they've clearly made some updates in terms of notifications. What do you think about the notifications there?
Productivity, baby. Suddenly, we can be focused. Like, everyone who's talking about productivity always tells you the same thing. Turn off your phone or put it on the do not disturb. Like one of the main things. Remove notifications, filter your notifications. Yeah, do all that thing. And I think what Apple is giving us is just do not disturb is awesome, but sometimes you want to have a different do not disturb, like a do not disturb where you can just tweak a little bit, so I can, let this person in, but this person not really. And I think it's great. And, the whole thing of, setting up the phone in a different kind of mood, with different apps on the home screen and things, like we have to test it. We'll have to play with it, but I like productivity, baby. This is good.
Yeah, I need to agree with you. I'm really, really excited about that. My default is do not disturb at all.
Yeah.
But it is good that I will be able to say, okay, at a certain time, I want this list of friends I don't want to miss their messages after 5 p.m. that I tend to miss them because I'm distracted. So I still will keep most people. I will keep my what I said, that you need to earn the right to make noise on my phone. But now it will be much easier to make noise on the phone for some people.
Totally.
Yeah, I think it's great that we're getting now feature parity in terms of granular notifications across both operating systems. I've always kept all iOS notifications turned off just because I'm primarily in the Android ecosystem. I don't want any iOS things duplicating those notifications, so I've always kept them off. Now I may actually turn some of them on because I can actually utilize the granular notification functions. What did Photos get? Photos got some updates here.
I mean, there is this thing of having, if somebody sends you photos, then they can automatically go to your photos library. But still, what we didn't get was the fact that there is no easy way to have a concept of family photos. Like one iCloud account, second iCloud account, like wife and husband. And, in some marriages, people actually share things, so it will be pretty useful to have like all the kids' photos together, and not that my wife took some pictures, I took some pictures, and then maybe we'll airdrop them or whatever, or have a shared album or something like this. So I'm still regretting that we didn't have any kind of solution for that. That's why, for example, me and my wife, we just use the same iCloud account on both of the phones. So this way, when we take pictures, everybody has the same photos, which is problematic on many different levels because, we cannot, separate other things. Yeah, I would love to have more updates there. It's the first step. It's good. They want to, the whole idea that, when you get messages and stuff and things get connected and they automatically show up, it's good, but it wasn't enough for me.
You see, what for me was exciting, the OCR feature into that.
Yeah.
Being able to copy text out of a picture, being able to highlight a phone number and dial from that, because that's something that is useful. Hey, take the screenshot, call later. I really like that. I am not the picture person in the family, therefore that feature that you're discussing, I don't know. My wife hopefully has the pictures, and if not, I will set that they die on a hard drive sometime in 2000. That's my plan. I have a backup plan with that. But the OCR feature, I think, is going to be cool, and they have been testing converting stuff, so it's good that we're going to do all that. So the next thing was the wallet, and the wallet now will have the keys to your home if you have the special kind of keys. Hotels, Hyatt already announced they're going to do that and assign you your key to your thing. But more interestingly, they are going to encrypt, and in certain states here in the United States, you will be able to even carry your driver license. So I carry already insurance cards on the phone, so it will be really nice. That said, I don't know if I want to give my phone to a cop if they want to see my driver. I don't know if I want to do that, but it's still, I think it's really cool that all can go digital, and you do TSA, and now you don't need to do all that. You just put your phone and it will recognize all your information at once.
So I can tell you from, I'm Polish, and in Poland, we are ahead of the curve because there is an app by the government, and over there you can have you just basically, identify as yourself through a trusted profile, and it pulls down your driver's license, your ID, your photo ID, and if you own a car, which in my case, my wife is the owner of our car, so I don't see it, but the license plate and the registration of the car, and it's an app by the government, which we have to choose to trust, but it works. So I don't have to, in Poland, I don't have to carry any kind of identification. Like, I have everything on the phone, so I can just show this, and this is valid. This is valid in the banks. This is valid everywhere. So it is valid. But I think what Apple can do this, thanks to the wallet, is the fact what they already do with the boarding passes. So with the boarding pass, you don't have to unlock your phone to show the boarding pass. You just show the boarding pass, and that's it. So if you show your ID to the officer, they have to still unlock your phone if they want to see more. So that I think this is again the good thing, that it would be saved in the encrypted way in the on the secure element on the phone, instead of just an app done by a government. So I like that our government is so advanced, but I still would prefer the integration with wallet for this. But still, it's a thing. I mean, we shouldn't be carrying pieces of paper that say who we are. Like, we have phones for that.
I think this is a great development. I think it's good for Apple to be pushing the envelope here. There have been multiple projects. Can you guys still hear me?
We can hear you.
Yeah, my system is frozen, so you guys move on, and I'll be back.
No, now you're good.
Now you're back. Do you want to talk, or we skip you?
No, there are great programs out there. I think that this is great that there's a major operating system vendor who is putting this out, and I hope that Android follows suit and Google gets the kick in the rear. This is a problem that needs to be solved. We should be able to control our digital identities, and this shouldn't be tied to a particular ecosystem, and global governments need to support these opportunities for us all to be able to identify ourselves at borders and be able to travel freely. This is a great step in the right direction, and I commend Apple for doing so.
So the next was weather. But okay, it's cool, it's pretty, but I don't necessarily care for weather. it's hot or it's cold, and I don't necessarily care. But did you care for weather? Because maps was exciting for me instead.
No, I mean they bought the weather thing. So I was hoping there would be information on that, but I was also hoping that they would give some weather APIs for developers to be able to build their own weather apps based on Apple's services. But this, I don't think it happens. So, yeah, I have iOS 15 on my iPhone SE, and the weather app is nice. But yeah, the Apple Maps, this is a new thing.
Yeah, the Apple Maps, I laugh as we were watching, and they are describing how in certain cities at the beginning you will be able to scan around and figure it out. The map will figure out where you are, so you give you the directions. Because I'm not going to admit how many times I have, or not, walk into the wrong direction, and then finally the thing is like, oh great, now I walk half a block on the opposite direction. So that was really interesting, really exciting for me.
Yeah, especially like, all the navigation systems that you have on the cars, they show turn left, turn right, whatever. But in many situations, the highways are so complicated, and if you're driving around a big city that you don't know, and I live in a small city, so whenever I go to to the capital with so many highways and so many intersections, I get confused. Okay, right after 100 meters, and then left after the next 100 meters, and then right again or left. It's complicated. But what they were showing, all these levels and stuff, it looks really, really amazing.
I like the three-dimensional view of things, and I like the ability for them to give that. I'm really hoping that as they make their way into the automotive industry, we see more and more of this coming into heads-up displays, so that we're capable of seeing this overlay happen, in the dash, so that we're not having to look down to then look up, and reducing the number of car crashes while we're still driving our own vehicles is my big concern here. Not in fancier features, but I like the concept of it, though. I mean, especially if you're walking around a city, this is a good challenge to Google Maps, and Google Maps still is the major contender here in the market, and it's good for them to be leveling up there. So
yeah.
So on top of that, and they did a lot for iOS 15. They talk about voice search in Safari, drag and drop cross app, new emojis, and a bunch of things. But it was for iOS 15 for the phones. It was really fantastic. And later on was announced that basically they are going to allow any device that was capable of running iOS 14, the current operating system, it's going to be able to run iOS 15. That it was impressive, because it's the second year in a row that they do the same. So
this old iPhone SE first generation is compatible, works. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. That was impressive. Yeah, I have an iPad Air 2 that is pretty old that will be able to run iOS 15, and the only person complaining right now is my daughter, who has an iPhone 6, who is not available to upgrade, but it wasn't available before. So she's now looking at me like, okay, we need an update. It's not going to happen. But then the next thing on the list is iPad OS 15, and the first thing they announced was the app library and the widgets. I don't know why this was not part of iOS 14. Given
beats me.
I complain when they put the library, okay? And now it's a feature that I really love on my phone, that I don't have any app that I can go and search things faster. But as I was growing into love for this app library, I start complaining that my iPad didn't have them.
Yeah, I mean, this was like a catch-up. But the widgets, I don't think the widgets are more powerful anymore. I don't think. I was watching State of the Union, and I saw that they introduced even bigger widgets for iPads, but I'm not sure if they are really interactive as much as we would like them to be. But anyway, it's good that they're finally supported, because it was long overdue. The widgets, for me, of course, the changes to multitasking are very exciting, because like, who would think that when you have two apps side by side, you might want to know which one has focus? Like, it would be a useful information, like where your focus is actually. And then second thing, to have it easier to really change the apps. Like, without doing lots of dancing and just turning around and backflips, but really be able to change it pretty easily. So, and also add buttons, when with the buttons you can manage the apps. So this way, you don't have to just make sure that the gesture is just right. So I think all these improvements, I haven't tested them though, because I didn't get the iPad OS 15 on my iPad Pro just yet, but I'm going to test it soon. So I'm really excited about these changes.
Yeah, the changes on multitasking are incredible. The fact that you can now open an app, and add it to a split view, that before they need to be on the bar. If you were not using it, it was cumbersome, period. The fact now that you can leave certain things fixed. They said that was going to work on iOS 14, didn't really. I hope this fixed at this time so I can have the things, when I do the show notes here, I open Chrome and Google Docs. I would love to have that forever, like that, never change it again. Okay, that hasn't happened yet. But the other thing is they really improved the translate on the iPad. And now as far as you have data, you can put it in there and have a conversation in two languages, do the translation of the two people. Wow, that's the only thing I can say about that. Okay, let's have a conversation. I will put this iPad in the middle and we are going to talk in two different languages and see this thing making the translation.
Yeah, Google Translate has been able to do this for a while, and so I'm glad to see that iPad is now bringing this to the capability, and it looks like it's a really nice implementation. So Google Translate is a little bit clunky to like.
It is clunky. You got to
get it set up. This seems
we need
seamless.
to play with it, but it seems to be better implementation than. But I agree. Google Translate has been my saver for that for years.
Yeah.
I mean, when you think, like your points are valid, right? That the Google Maps was a leader in maps, Google Translate was a leader in translation. Like there were just many things where Google was clearly a leader, and now it has to be challenged, and it can be challenged. So, and hopefully Google says challenge accepted, and we'll just also work on these things. But Google Translate was clunky. It didn't have to be great because there was no competition. Now there's competition, so finally they'll hopefully figure it out. So I think in many of these things, great that Google was the first mover. Great that Apple is catching up, because it's for us customers. In the end, it's going to be just better services all around.
Yeah, I think Augusto frequently says this on the show, which is that the competition means that everybody's going to get better. And I think this is absolutely the case in this particular regard, both in the Maps space, because, Apple had a little bit of a false start out the gate with Apple Maps, right? But they're catching up, and that's really good for Apple users. And now again, here with Translate, I think reducing communication barriers, I think is one of the best things that we can do with technology, allowing for open and diverse communication, and being able to do Translate now, so that when Augusto gets tired and starts speaking to me in Spanish, I can just open up the iPad and it won't make any difference.
Hey, I'm looking forward to that moment that we can do the conversation that way. I'm good.
Still, kids. Uncle Mike is saying that you should still learn languages, so don't worry about it. You should still learn languages. It's a useful skill.
Absolutely, no. Language is about understanding culture more than it is understanding, vocabulary. Yeah. And so, absolutely, I'm right on your lane there. Absolutely, learn new languages. It is good for cultural understanding. Okay.
So the next thing is the shift playgrounds and the ability to program on the iPad. I'm not a programmer. Okay, but I'm excited about this, about seeing people live in the iPad, eat the dog food on the iPad, being able to program on the iPad, produce things on the iPad. This is going to bring the application to a next level. I don't think I can state how excited I am about this.
Did you ever try to give Swiss playgrounds to your son? Did he try?
It's actually his summer camp plan. He has that, and he has that, and he's going to be coding Roblox games.
Cool, because I did it a few years back with my daughter, the Swift Playgrounds, and she really liked it. It was a very cool way to learn programming. So I'm totally agree. I totally agree with you that now that you can actually do apps from the iPad is great. I have a funny story. Today I was I had to sign new developer agreement, for Nozbe, so that we could deploy new app. and I got a notification that we have to do it. I signed into my developer portal through Safari on the iPad, and I couldn't get it done. I had to go to the Mac to do it. So I'm hoping that Apple also, with this improvement, also fixes their website for developers so that I can actually click yes on agreement, on the iPad. It would be nice.
But you speak to a greater point, though, Michael, which is that so many people, miss the boat on these like really important fundamentals of like, okay, if you're going to support this, especially mobile computing, right? Because this is something that both of you are very passionate about, and being iPad only and the mobile computing world. If you're going to support this, come on, support it fully, like really get this to work. And I'm actually really curious, like from your perspective, do you feel like your developers will be able to do the work for Noseby and Noseby Team's development iPad only now, or do you think that they will still want to have full operating, but like a full desktop operating experience?
No. They're geeks, and they have their own setups and two monitors and all that stuff. So I don't think so. But no, I think that's also not the target here. The idea for Swift Playgrounds to be able to do apps on the iPad is more for the younger generation, the generation that really does use iPads a lot. Like for my daughter does everything on her iPad. Like she uses KineMaster to do movies. Like Roblox, they play Roblox. She cannot build stuff on Roblox because then for that you have the Mac. But many things she does on the iPad. And for her, for example, if she would want to start programming, she would definitely continue with Swift Playgrounds and then build the app on Swift Playgrounds. So I think it's just as an entry level, because in the end of the day, the more powerful menus and tools still will be on the Mac, because this is like the truck, like this is the machine that gets this thing done. But I'm sure many quite of basic and entry level apps could be really completely done on the iPad, and I think that's the key here.
Fantastic. All right, moving right along, Augusto.
So the next one, I had a visit from the late Steve Jobs when they start talking about quick notes.
Yeah.
If Steve Jobs will have been alive, he will have said that we just reinvented the Post-it notes. Okay, and making them much better. But the fact that I love my pencils, okay, and I recently got the new iPad, and the first thing on that order was the pencil. Do I use the pencil all day? No, but I use it enough to be part of my team. So, and I love the idea. I don't have any paper around, and I like the idea of have this short place where I can do these quick notes and then use them as an inbox for notes, and then being able to purge them in every time or any second that I need. So I'm really, really, really excited about that.
Yeah, I'm curious to see later, like, what do you do with these quick notes? Like, can you just merge them or copy them to a different note or whatever? Like, so I haven't tried it yet. So the later phase will be interesting for me to see. But yes, this fact of jotting things down is really important. And there's just this change for you, Augusto. I think you can appreciate now that you have the new iPad. Is this fact that you have the pencil so accessible, because it's all the time there, it's all the time charged, and it's all the time with you. And for me, this was the game changer, because I haven't used the previous pencil as much, because when I wanted to use it, it was, for example, not charged anymore, and to charge it was really strange because you would just stuck it in the iPad. Like, it wasn't really nice experience, very un-Apple-like. So with this magnet, having the pencil always around, it makes me want to use it more, and I use it a lot more than with previous iPads.
And I'm always worried about, like, when it's plugged in, I'm always worried that I'm going to snap it and break it while it's plugged in. Like, it's a really weird, clunky Apple choice. It's very, as you said, un-Apple that you would have it plugged in. So I'm actually looking forward to upgrading at some point the iPad to a version that allows me to just plop it on the top and for it to just automatically connect.
Plop it on the top. It is really a game changer. It was really, really nice. I bought a thing that you stick it on the back of the iPad, so I had it towards the front. So I never really suffer from that, and so that's never been the real issue for me. It's charged, and I have on the Mini as well as the 12.9, and then that's never was an issue. But really, it is different when you just stick it there and it's charged. I don't think that thing has gone below 40% at any time. So I'm really, really excited with that. So the next thing with that was I lost the extensions for the Safari, for both, for the iPhones. One of the, and again, Michael mentioned this at the beginning, we are making now everything standard. If you are available in the Mac, you will have it available in the app, you will have it available in the phone. That is really exciting. I'm not a big extension guy, but it's excited to be able now to have the same extensions everywhere. I think that may make me use more of those extensions.
Yeah, and the whole thing, they revamped Safari as such. I'm looking forward to testing it because it's also on the Mac different. It's the tabs and all that stuff, and so the whole they really thought Safari through. So I'm looking forward to testing all this.
So the next question is what you thought was going to be the name of this iOS. Did you guess Monterey or not? There was this ridiculous thing on the web, on Twitter and all that, people making bets of what was going to be the name, and Monterey was one of the options.
California, baby. California love.
But for you, this may be a game changer or not. But for developers, test flight, it is fantastic for developers to allow people to test apps, to be part of that close group, to get the feedback, to get the updates and everything else, but has never been available for the Mac. So for the first time, that's coming to the Mac.
So some of the things that me as a developer are interesting for me. So like test flight for the Mac, definitely. Like we want to be able. So for example, Nozbe Teams, we don't have a Mac app yet. We have Mac app for the Nozbe Personal, but not for Nozbe Teams. So we are getting ready to have to having a Mac app. So this will be just great to have it on test flight and just have the whole experience the same.
So can I tell my wife that Michael told me that I needed to get the new Mac so I could do test flight for this?
Of course. And especially the fact when you think about it, this is where Apple is great, and then Apple is not great. So Apple is great because I'm talking to you through my 2014 iMac 5K, and the other Mac that I have at home is 2013 MacBook Pro, Retina MacBook Pro. And these computers are so good. Both have Retina screens. Both are fantastic. But both are still fast. They are SSD only. I didn't order any hard drive in there, so they're SSD. They have 16 gigabytes of RAM. Really good. None of them will get the Monterey. Both of them have just been bricked. I mean, bricked, not really. They will be able. People will be able to use it, but people, not me, because I need to have the latest and the greatest. I am a software developer. I will need to have Monterey on my Mac. So, in the fall of this year, there will be the costs.
Yeah, same thing with me. It's one of those things you have to have the devices to test on, and it's why I do have Apple devices around. I play around with them, but I have them for testing purposes. And now I'm going to have to upgrade to be able to do that because I'm out of that upgrade cycle certainly on the Mac.
So really, we are all out of Mac update cycles. That's interesting.
Yeah, but these Macs are so good. Like really, the 2013 MacBook Pro, Retina MacBook Pro is amazing, and it still works very well. And even though it says to me battery needs servicing, the battery life is still like 5 or 6 hours on this thing. So it's just it's still a great computer, and it was good that it maintained this update cycle until now. So it's great that but. I'm gonna be missing.
I'm gonna take the other side to that though, which is that they're all for getting rid of your power adapters to say for environmental purposes you're not getting a charger. But on the flip side of that, keeping your iMac and your MacBook in service for a longer period of time is truly the more environmental thing to do. Exactly. And so they're kind of speaking out of both sides of their mouth here. But sales, that's what they're really going after here.
Yeah, but also at some point,
an upgrade.
But at some point they have to just start, because also I know as software developer that sometimes like the hardware just limits you what you can do, and
Yes.
and like one of the things that my iMac doesn't have is the secure enclave. So for example, there is no way for like many features that other new iMacs can enjoy, I cannot, and so there are just legacy hardware that's just to support it still. You just try to support it as long as you can, but at some point you're just like if it's 5% of my users, then maybe I'll just have to tell them to like enjoy it while it lasts. But at some point you have to upgrade. So it's just a shame because still the MacBook Pro and the iMacs are the iMac they have are both computers are in really great shape. But yeah,
I'm hoping that at some point we get to a modular. I would rather spend $1,000 a year on Apple where I'm upgrading hardware in a modular perspective than the way in which they currently have it, which is, if I need something replaced on the Mac, I'm handing it over to them and they're taking off adhesive, unsoldering, resoldering pieces and putting them back and then giving it back to me. That's never been the case in my Windows world, right? Like I take apart and rebuild my own machines, and we've never had that in the Apple space. And to some extent that really causes a lot of environmental impact. So I really do want Apple to focus on that to some extent. I don't know if they'll ever get to that point where you'll be able to swap out your own components. But I really do feel like it's one thing that they are missing. I'd love to be able to like pop a secure enclave onto my MacBook. Like that would be a really nice feature to be able to, and I'd pay them money to do so. Like that would be a really great piece. And we see some modular computers coming onto the market now, and those appeal to me. Someone who is environmentally conscious and conscientious about the fact that I'd rather spend incremental dollars than buy a whole new computer when I don't need it. I'm not a baby boomer, but I still have that sense of like you don't just like throw out your shoes. You go to a shoemaker and you have them, fix the shoes. So what you gonna do?
Yeah, it's a tricky situation. The good thing is, I think, for example, in my case, like both of these Macs, I can imagine selling them somewhere to some, or just giving them to a school or somewhere else where they'll still be used and get a second life. So, like for me, would be like the, at least I can do. And I think, I think this is what's going to happen.
They'll wipe them out and put Linux on it.
No.
This is I got years ago MacBook Adorable, as Mark Servant called him.
Yeah.
And I never thought in my mind that I was going to beg my wife to let me use the MacBook Adorable so I could test Monterey. But hey.
There you go.
All right. What other things do we want to cover in Monterey?
Universal control, I think, was a big thing. Okay,
it was
the fact
a demo.
that you can put that thing now and go to the different screens, it will be awesome. My disappointment, and it may not be real, it may be lack of information at the current moment, is are they going to allow me to do that from my iPad M1 with a Magic Keyboard and move to a different iPad? If they do that, I will not replace this 2013 machine ever. That said, that will be incredible. If I can move, I have two iPads around me. If I can connect into them using my M1 and the Magic Keyboard, yes.
Augusto, I think they said that it's a feature of Monterey. So it's a Mac feature. So I don't think two iPads will be able to do it.
Lie to me, Michael. It is fine. Certain white lies are fine.
Yeah, but this would be the trackpad support and having it on both Mac iPads would be indeed awesome. Yeah, it was a great demo. It was just a beautiful demo. Like it was like this. Magic, borderline magic that this file goes from this iPad through the Mac to the other Mac, and it's just being dropped there, and it actually worked. It was borderline magic, and I loved it.
Yeah, that part was amazing. I think again the big deal with Monterey, from my perspective, is the fact that they are leveling the ground. I may need to wait to next year to get what I want. That is that my iPad do what I want to do. Okay. But they are really making good steps toward leveling the ground to make it invisible for the user which device you have, which device you're using. And that's something really exciting to me, at least. And the share play, they've been able to use the speakers of the Mac to play AirPlay things. That was really cool. And I don't know, I am really, really excited about what is coming for Monterey.
Yeah, and this is like, what Apple is trying to do with with the Swift UI and Swift and all these technologies that they introduced, and they are right now putting more emphasis on them, is the fact that that these apps converge, and they can be, you can have the small app on the phone and bigger app on the iPad, and then the biggest on the Mac, and they are more or less the same apps. This is something I always believed in. This is why, for example, in Nozbe, we always believed that you should be able to have the same features on the phone. Of course, they might not be as accessible as they are on the big screen, where on the big computer, where you have shortcuts or things like that. But you still, I didn't want the iPhone experience to be a limited experience. I have to add this task, but I'm going to add it on the Mac. It didn't make any sense. But not only this, manage things, move stuff around, move tasks from projects and all that stuff. And this is what happens here with all the software right now with Swift UI, that they are telling developers effectively, like, when you build a Swift UI app, your app will deploy to all these platforms. You can choose to limit, and not go to the Mac or not go to the iPad, but it's going to be your choice. But actually, because it's going to be so awesome, like, why would you do that? Because your app, you write it once and it just deploys everywhere, and it adapts to all these screens and works beautifully. And I love it. This is a great direction. And and also, including the watch, they really want to make sure that you have these watch apps, and I love it.
Yeah, I think that connectivity, computing power, battery life, all of those things were issues at some point, and now we're coming to this convergence point of all of those things becoming, at least for luxury market, which is where Apple's focused on, the premium market. You have all of their devices are capable of running all of these apps pretty cleanly. Yep. And now they're capable of allowing you to do this kind of thing where you have a seamless experience, which are full-featured applications across no matter what device you're running. And it's just basically fitting the form factor. And I'm with you. I think this is a brilliant move. I think that most other OEMs, Samsung, I'm looking at you, has their eye on what Apple is doing here and is going to be following that pack, because it is where consumers want to be. Consumers never said, you know what, I'd rather not be able to do what I wanted to do on my mobile phone and have to put it down and go walk over to the computer to be able to do it. They've always wanted to do everything they want to do wherever they are, and Apple is giving people that capability, and I'm really pleased to see that.
So the next thing was the Watch OS. They did a lot of improvement there, especially on the Apple Health. They're really pushing the health and pushing the connection of the watch with the health. And it's true, they're amazing the amount of information that your watch can provide you. And what they are doing now, you will be able to get, medical blood tests and stuff and upload it there and get a guidance for that. So, and keep them there and share them securely. So all that is really, really exciting. But I think we are really going to see the deep of those two components when they announce the next version of the watch. My impression was that we have this to show to you, but we cannot tell you anything yet, because we're waiting to show you the hardware that will make this really amazing. At least that was my impression.
For me, the shame was a little bit that they didn't announce or didn't provide, custom watch faces still. It's WatchOS 8, and we still cannot build our own watch faces. We can put pictures, and that's it. So it's a shame, but with the whole health thing, it's spot on. Especially in this pandemic, we want to make sure that we, at least within our family, for me to be able to to see how is the health status of my father and of my mom, of my daughter, who all wear Apple Watches, or even you don't have to have an Apple Watch. You can just have the iPhone, and already the information from there is pretty useful. So this way, you can control people who are just getting older or who are just young, and you just want to make sure that they're okay. So I love it. I can't wait to do for example, the health sharing. I think it's fantastic.
And that you make a really great point. I give to my parents and Madame A device, so they could talk to the thing, they could turn the lights on or off and out and in. So for their security, because like you, they are far. Okay, my parents are far. It's not like, okay, let me drive and get there. It's not a possibility, period. And with the pandemic, make things even more complicated. And I agree. It's even if I go and buy both watches, on $400 a piece, $800, the tranquility that I am going to have for those $800, that they're going to have on the wrist something that is telling me they're fine. This is how they're breathing and all that. It is priceless. At least for me, the person who is in New Jersey worrying about them. Okay, if I can convince them to wear them, that's a different bet. Okay, then I will be able to get this information and know how they are doing and monitoring that. And not only that, let me tell you the second part. When you need to take them to the doctor, at the beginning of this year, we had scares with my dad, okay, who had an ictus, and we didn't know, okay, I couldn't get there, couldn't do anything from where I was other than worry and make phone calls. But when the doctor asked, okay, have you seen any symptoms of this developing? He said no. But I mean, other than him or my mother, nobody could have said that information. I could have pulled that report and send it to the doctor right away. And we could have learned what we need to pay attention to.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And you, like, Augusto, and actually the good news is that you don't have to spend $800 for this. Even the Watch Series 3 is still supported with the latest
Yes,
iOS.
But the Series 3 is a problem to update on these systems, and that means I need to do a lot more tech support, so it need to be 4 and up.
Yeah. No, you shouldn't get the Series 3. I mean, I mean, I'm just saying that you can, because they still, try to maintain it and keep it at this low price. But what I love about the Watch 4 and up is the fact that, for example, for my father, it really monitors his heart. So like when he had some issues with his heart, so actually Apple Watch, warned him just ahead of this, telling him that he should calm down because he might have some issues. It's amazing. So like Watch 4 and up, it's completely worth getting it for the loved ones, just to be able to monitor them.
Yeah, they're becoming little medical devices on your wrist. I mean, it's amazing how the continuous heart rate monitoring on the watch and everything else like that is just it's medical grade now, which is really phenomenal.
Look, I mean, I even sometimes sleep with my watch, and on one of these occasions, my watch told me that my beats when I'm sleeping are below 40, which can be concerning. It can be okay, but better go to your doctor. So I did. I had a whole slew of tests at my doctor's to make sure that everything is fine. It turns out it's fine. But anyway, like, what other device would continually monitor me throughout the day and throughout the night? If it wasn't like a very clunky, difficult device, I had just this, and that's it. So it's just really, because it's constantly, in the background monitoring you. You can see, as Augusto said, you can get a report, with all the situations and with all, and you can just see that black and white.
Yeah. So the next thing was HomeKit and the updates with HomeKit. And something that actually I was particularly surprised by was that they are going to allow Siri to be on third-party devices. That I need to admit, it was, when they say that, I was like, really interesting. So
I think it's kind of like a microphone relay. It's like you can speak to some other device, but you still have to have a HomePod or something else to actually,
initiate.
and understand the request. Is it a question that, for example, you have a thermostat here, but the HomePod you have in the kitchen, but the thermostat connects with the HomePod, so whenever you speak to thermostat, actually, the HomePod responds, but through the thermostat or something. So I think it's this kind of situation, but still, great idea.
More likely.
Mhm.
That sounds more Apple than my theory.
Yeah, it was really interesting. I saw a really broadening of. Oh, so I'm going to stop here. Art is asking a question. It says, "Will the new watch have longer battery life?" Do either of you know about the battery life on the new Watch OS?
No, because the new Watch OS doesn't exist. Only exists on the mind of the fans officially.
Yeah.
Then that's a no, Art. Sorry, we do not know if the new watch will have a longer battery life.
Mm.
But going back to this,
Art, we are not threatened by Google Wear at all. So we are not, as in the maps, okay, and the Google Translate, Google has let it go because they were so superior. Okay, on the watch, we can wait a little bit to make one or two iterations wait.
I think Wear OS has a very powerful future, a longevity. Their partnership, both by purchasing Fitbit, but also with working with Samsung and Tizen, Wear has a very strong future ahead of itself. And again, back to this point that you've made, which is that them seeing the competition in watchOS will only make Wear OS better, and that means for those of us who are not, I'm never going to get an Apple Watch, no offense, but when Google decides to put out their own, or when I finally break down and get a Samsung Galaxy Watch, those are going to be better watches for watchOS existing, and vice versa. I really am very pleased with all of those wearables, because I am a watch wearer, but also for the medical the medical information that it does, the health data that it's tracking is just unparalleled from any other time in history. So I just really think this is a very powerful thing for humanity to have available to them. And that doesn't mean everybody has to be wearing a watch, but for those of us who are mindful of it, being able to track that data is just really, really powerful.
So I had three more things that were exciting for me. One of them was Find My Network. You can still find the phone, even if they power it off in case you lost it or it gets stolen. You will still be able to find the phones, even if they try to wipe out. So I'm guessing they put it on security chip. That is really, really exciting. The second thing that I kind of laughed, but I was excited about it, I saw the AirTag, okay, and I have not yet figured out why an AirTag may be interesting until they talk about separation anxiety, and that's how they call it in the thing, okay. But it's really the ability of the device to let you know, hey, you leave your AirPods behind. Hey, you leave your pencil behind. Hey, you leave your bag behind. That now it's a reason for buy that thing, because if you can put that AirTag in there in the bag, and it will let you know especially when you're traveling, for example, we are going to travel again, I hope. Okay, and having those kind of things, that will be really, really cool.
I'm a geek, so for me, I'm baffled that people still when the AirTags were announced, people were like, "Why would I use it? Why would I use this for?" For me, it was like, really, are you really that perfect person that never leaves things behind?
Always no, I do it all the time. I do it all the time. Don't be fooled.
So, I'm a tile user, because there were no AirTags, and I bought my first tiles like 4 years ago, and they're like a part of my life that I have to find the keys all the time. I have 3 daughters; they lose keys all the time. So if there were no tiles, I would just lose my mind. So for me, the whole concept of AirTags and the whole Find My Network, it's just amazing, because this is where and until now. This idea that you couldn't really find the AirPods because they wouldn't, they would just be somewhere around here, and now you can really get to them. It's really good. So all these improvements are really, really important, and you don't have to be a very old granny to lose things.
No. I agree with you, and I tell my story with style. We went in a trip from Indianapolis to Chicago. Okay, we were driving back, and my wife said, my keys, and I proudly pull my phone out of open the Tile app, and they quickly beep in Chicago, 3 hours behind us. So,
But
yes.
but at least you had the certainty. Okay, they're there.
There was certainty. It was fantastic. It worked every penny of that thing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, especially as we have more and more of these small devices. I will say that I have the Google Pixel Buds too, and once in a while the shell runs out of battery life, as a shell will do, and then the buds kick on, and then they connect to the phone, and then for the next few hours I don't hear the phone ring because all of the audio is being passed through the Pixel Buds. Hey Google, just figure it out, please. So.
Well, the last thing I have here on my list was that they are going to put the the iPhones has having this called thing, they think low power mode for a really long time. Yeah, when the phone gets to a certain point, you can activate that, and then they extend the life of the battery. But now they announced that's coming to the iPad as well as the Mac. Again, I don't know about the Mac. This Mac, it's, as we discussed today in the show, Apple is giving them no more love, okay? But it's there. It's indestructible. Yes, I get it that the fan, every time I want to do something now, goes probably at the maximum speed, but it works for the 3 things I needed every month. No need to change it for now. But the iPad, it's not often that my iPad run out of battery. Okay, but I use it all day. Okay, I start my day at 4 or 5 in the morning. Hey, by 6 p.m., that thing need to be plugged in. Sorry, it's only 10 to 12 hour battery. But has happened to me that I'm outside and now I'm like, okay, I need to pay attention to this because I didn't bring anything. Because the good news with the iPad is I don't need to bring anything. I can carry, okay, this thing, okay, and that's it. I don't need to take anything else. That's awesome. The problem is I don't need to take anything else. Okay. This morning, a friend of mine was texting me and said, I'm traveling. Forgot the cable for the iPad. Where can I get one? Okay. Why? Because same thing. Most of his trips are in the city. Okay. He needed to stay overnight for reasons not, out of his control. And his bag do not have an iPad cable because he don't use it. He don't use it, so he remove it. So the fact that low power mode is coming, at least I think, is really exciting.
Yeah, but still, I think a good productivity advice is that you always have to have 2 chargers with you, one in the office and the other one in the backpack, always. So this way you can. And what I also have is a power bank, always charged with me as well, exactly, because you never know when you run out of juice, and to have it, and this way when you are going out, you just take as you said, you just take your iPad and you put it in the backpack and you leave, because you know that the rest of the stuff is already in the backpack, so there's no need to think about it.
Yeah, I've always got extra battery packs hanging around in all of my travel cases and laptop bags, because you just never know when not just me, but somebody else will need power, and I just like to be prepared for that stuff.
Yeah, totally. And these days, really, the chargers, the cables, the power banks are really inexpensive. So it's not like you have to buy $200 power bricks for your laptops like you used to in the past.
Not only that, they last. I don't know. So I got this one. This one is like 5 or 6 years old. It's heavy, okay, but it's fantastic. It can charge the iPad twice.
Yeah. So that's why But that's the thing. So it's a small productivity thing. Always have them in your bags, as you said, Ray, in all the bags. So that you don't have to think about it. You can just leave home and it's gonna be here.
Oh well. This brings us to the end. Yeah, there are more things announced, and I'm sure during the next weeks and months there are more things we are going to discover. I think you said something, Michael, that was really interesting for me. This was, yes, all the systems are their own flavor, but this was really the convergence of every system, regardless if you use a phone, a Mac, or an iPad. And that's really exciting when sometimes when I get the question, why do I work this way? Because I can copy from the iPad on the corner and paste it on the Mac on the opposite corner. I don't need anything else. And that ease, it's really nice. And having that now taken to the next level, it's really, really exciting.
Yeah, and especially now that they really control the hardware as well. Like the new Macs are, M1s, so it's the same heart as the iOS devices. So it's really easier to introduce very similar features. But I'm glad that they're still keeping the Mac, and keeping the iPad, the iOS. So just like as my final thought, many people were expecting improvements in iPad multitasking and in iPad, the way iPad works. I'm glad that they're sticking still. I mean, they improved things, but they're sticking with what we have, like split view. Like we don't have to have. Like, they're not trying to copy Mac to the iPad. They let iPad still be the iPad I love so much. And this way, if somebody wants to be productive, they can just choose their poison. Like if somebody wants to have the iPad, great. If somebody wants to keep on using the Mac, perfect. And now these machines will just talk to each other even better.
Yeah.
All right. We have reached the top of our commentary show. Michael, thank you so much for joining us as always on
Thanks,
Anything But Idle. How do folks keep up to date with what you've got going on in the world and maybe what you've got going on at Noseby?
Yeah, so just go to noseby.com or Sliwinski.com or my new website, michael.team. This is so my blog Sliwinski.com is being migrated to michael.team. I changed the domain because that's the one. Because my name Sliwinski is not really easy for Americans or for any other people to spell, and michael.team is just much easier. So I did that. So just and then you can find me on Twitter and everywhere else. So thank you so much. Thanks for having me.
No, thank you as always, Michael, for joining us here.
Always, my friend.
All right, Augusto, another one is in the can.
Awesome, thank you, and this was fun as always. Thank you, Michael Sliwinski. Thank you, Art. Thank you for the people who is listening and watching us every week.
Thank you, Augusto. And with that, we have covered our commentary. We've done our commentary on the Worldwide Developer Conference 2021 that Apple did their keynote for yesterday. If there is something that we missed that Apple announced that you want to talk about, feel free to head over to anythingbutidle.com/064. That's the episode number for this episode, anythingbutidle.com/064. That will take you over to the episode page, and you'll be able to go to the show notes, click on the links, but also comment on the story. There will be a text transcript where you can expand it and read it on the page, or you can click the PDF download link and download it for offline viewing and marking up. You can put it on your iPad and mark it up on the iPad. If this is your first time watching the live stream, feel free to click the subscribe button and go ahead and subscribe to the show so you'll get notified for when we go live weekly, usually on Mondays at 6 p.m. Eastern. Listen to the podcast show after the fact. You listen to the audio version. Feel free to go ahead and subscribe to the podcast or follow it in Apple language now. But you can also find out how to do all of that at anythingbutidle.com, and you'll find that on the subscribe or follow tab where it has all the instructions. So with that, everybody, we'll see you next time on Anything But Idle. Here's to your productive life.